Good and decent people of YouTube, you've tuned in to an unbelievable Karen update. A Karen does the unthinkable. What is that? You gotta wait till the end to find out. Let me give you the first story. 60 seconds. Give me 60 seconds. You guys may remember this young lady.
I don't know who the you think you're talking to. Who the you think you're addressing?
Number one, the Karen in question has DID, which means she has multiple personalities. One of these personalities went to a chat room with my friend, was extra loud, things happened, and she was told to quiet down, or he, which the personality was at the time.
But addressing my predominant and telling him that he's coming across as aggressive, when that's all he was doing was talking in his normal male voice, as he identifies as he/him pronouns. That is not on.
I went in on this young lady.
You're gross. You see, you human trash can. You yourself said she felt like a mother figure. Where's your real mom?
She, the personality that we're talking about here, did a video that was just scary, okay? And I responded even scarier, I would assume. If you haven't seen it, it's right down there in the description. She left this message. I said, I'm down. I was expecting the foolishness. I didn't get it. Then I got an email from this man, who's her caretaker, as well as her fiance. He said, can we talk? I said, yes. What you're about to see, YouTube, are clips from my Patreon, where I put up the whole 2-day conversation and everything in it. It's amazing. It's amazing. Right now, you're just going to see clips that are pertinent to this update that you just want to be a part of. I promise you, wait till the end. You're going to love this one. Check it out. First of all, I'm recording just to make sure everything is backed up in case.
Yeah, that's all right, man. I was going to let you know I'm doing the same, keeps everybody honest, doesn't it?
Indeed. So, let's get into it. I got a text or a message from what's the name? System Deviant. It said something about speaking or wanting to speak and where to get in touch. And so I left, the message for my email, and then you texted me back. So I was. It seems to me in our email that it seemed like I wanted to, or I had something to say to her, but I didn't. I was just listening to what she had to say. I thought she wanted to speak to me. So is that the case? Is there something she wanted to say?
No, what it was, she wanted to portray her side of the story to yourself so that you had the full story, but I'm better articulated to do that. I'm in a better position to do that. She gets a bit muddled with her thoughts sometimes, and it doesn't come across quite as coherent as it would somebody else,
Okay, understood.
And like I said,
it's perfectly normal.
I'm aware of the situation. I know what went on, so I'm able to speak on it.
All right. Well, go ahead. Let's hear her side. Or if you have any questions for me, let me know. I'm here to listen.
I think fibromyalgia is sensory, isn't it? It's how you monitor input to external stimuli.
Yes.
And so I think what happened was, she obviously with a fibromyalgia had the sensory input responding to the author's name is in question is Spike. It was it was triggered by the volume of his voice.
Okay.
And initially, I don't think it was portrayed as that. Obviously that's not an issue if it's portrayed like that. But I think what she said was, he's using an aggressive tone, or can he tone down the volume, something to that effect.
Right.
And him taking it the way he was just spiraled the situation. It'd be like if, I don't know if you have kids or young ones, but it's like if somebody said something to them and then they came in and said, "Oh, this person said I was being too loud to quiet down." And if you obviously thought your kids or whoever wasn't making a problem, they were just doing what they do normally, you can understand where the situation can only go down from that.
So I hear you there. My only thing is I don't think that's a perfectly normal response at all. That when you have kids, if somebody says, "Hey, I was told I was being too loud, the person had fibromyalgia," you say, "Can we ask a question?" Or "Let me speak to," or why did you think it was so loud? Or was it his voice? Was it deep? Or there's a question, there's an answer.
Yeah, I don't.
There's a discovery period before it goes to yelling, screaming, "Don't you ever," blah blah blah. Like that jump from "Could you please quiet down?" It's hurting me, to "Don't you ever," screaming into the camera.
How dare you? You are a normal human being. I don't care what is going on with you. Let me be 100% clear and assertive in that. There is no excuse you can give me for the discrimination that you showed him. You embarrassed him publicly. You made out that he's aggressive on messages to the other two. I am fuming.
Seems like there's a big, wide gap of missing information and discovery period that's necessary before you go off, I would say.
And I believe later on she went into the live on TikTok to try and apologize and to understand the situation. And he had somebody up on the panel at the time, Chris for Diamond Art or something like that. And at that time, he was making physical threats towards her. And obviously, you know how it is. You know how it is. You have people up on your panel. You can't control what they say. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So she went back to apologize. The next day or something like that after she made the video, and then
it may have been the next day, or it may have been even as soon as a few hours after.
Okay. And then when she did that, somebody made physical threats against her.
Yeah, it was one of her friends, one she had on her panel anyway. And we all have that friend who instantly jumps in like that. You know what I mean?
Okay. And so that's weird. I didn't hear about that part from neither her or because
I've got that backed up of recordings of when it happens. Like I said, as always, trust but verify. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I have got that backed up on the recording, and I didn't hold. I wouldn't hold that against. If you have someone on your panel, it's free reign what happens once it's there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But with Devious's previous history of abuse at the hands of males, that armor that comes down afterwards, the rational thinking that creeps in, the armor just went right back up. And it's kind of like if somebody's hosting somebody and they say something inappropriate, something out of order, most people, you check your boy. You'd say to him about, well, I don't agree with that, or at least I would anyway.
No, I hear you. So this was before or after she apologized? That's what once somebody left the video that I saw, if you come on and you say, well, you were going to apologize, but then something else happened and you got mad again, I'm not sure if I was being you, that I would just go ahead and give the benefit of the doubt and say, check my boy. I would more likely say, why are you here?
Well, obviously, and that's the thing. I think any kind of apology, any kind of recollection, like I said, I think it was, to my to my memory, I think it was a couple of hours after. It might have been later on that night. And anything that happens, any kind of blow up that happens, that's too soon. You at least leave it a day or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But System has this thing about her where if she feels she's in the wrong, she feels she has to straighten it out as soon as possible. It's not, you can't quite convey to her that, you know, you'll obviously still do that, but give them time to calm down first. You know what I mean? I think if someone's owed an apology for your actions, you're apologizing for your actions, not on the contingency of who does what over there. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think because it was a male making physical threats to curb stomp and talking about how he hit somebody in school with a steel pipe and the screaming could be heard out into the playground.
So I need to definitely hear or see that. That's pretty strong accusation of somebody saying that. So I don't think that that's awesome at all. You can send that to my email.
I was gonna say I'll send it to your email, or if it's a video, I'll send it to you via Instagram. Is it?
No, I don't really do Instagram. But
I was gonna say, would email be better? Would it?
Email is best. Yeah.
All right, so I'll get on that after this. But
okay.
But no, obviously I saw the video. I watched before getting onto the live. I watched your video over again so that I could refresh my memory. I mean, what is this, a month ago?
Right. Yeah.
You know, I needed the refresher course too, and I tried to be as straight as it is with everybody. I don't think that video was the best way to convey thing. I mean, if somebody's took issue with your tone, I don't think more tone or more volume is the way to prove your innocence, regardless of what you felt. So I never would think that's a good idea.
Definitely, I hear you.
It's just the situation obviously was started as a misunderstanding, and you know, she's thought if I had said this in such a way as to just say it for criticism's sake, and then that's caused a misunderstanding there where you instantly think, well, if their tone wasn't a problem, I don't quite see why it's a problem for you. And obviously the fibromyalgia exacerbates what otherwise wouldn't be a problem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because something's not a problem doesn't mean there's not external factors that make it a problem for a person, you know?
Right. Okay.
So that was a little misunderstanding, and that could have been sorted out. And then I think it all spiraled down by too many cooks getting involved. Obviously, this other guy came in and had his say, and you know how it is. It's friends, isn't it? You're going to back your friend. Doesn't matter. You don't need the full story. If your friend comes to you and says, so I've done this, you're ready to go. It doesn't matter what it is, where it is, what. And I think that just cascaded the whole situation and made a misunderstanding into a disagreement that didn't really achieve anything for either side, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw in your video you said that if you left, he had contacted you upset and in tears. I know later on that evening I had my partner upset and in tears, and you know what I mean? It's upset for upset's sake. Nobody's out and, you know, nobody's gained a bag of gold out of this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, when she came, when you contacted yourself, obviously you did your video based on the information you have from a trusted source. You know what I mean?
True. So it wasn't just, well, I'm just defending my friend. What I did was I found a pattern of, and people who are abused lash out and abuse others. What I found was a pattern of intimidation when it could be gotten away with. And to this day, the only thing and the only time I've even heard about the heartfeltness or what's really going on and the apology was because I made that video and you being here right now. I don't think that this would be the case if I didn't make that video, to be honest with you. And so I understand that, you know, no one's gotten a pot of gold out of this, but I do also understand that when she decided to broadcast a private phone call on YouTube, this you at that also goes beyond the pale, because what she did was public, and talking to her friend, taping that and then publishing that's beyond the pale. That's intimidation at its best. And I'm willing, like I said, still willing to hear. I have a band practice in 10 minutes, so we can get back on tomorrow or after that. But understand that it wasn't just me. Oh man, well, she's crying, and this is my job. I actually do it for a living. And what I saw was a pattern that was disturbing, and I wanted to be equally as disturbing and shocking to hopefully get a reaction that could be built from. And I actually think that's what happened here.
I did of course I did watch your video as a refresher, and I did see the names of the people who had commented, and I do recognize these names. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually glad that was brought up, because this is a lot of what was mentioned there is a lot of what started this volatile, any situation taken as a criticism situation. So 2 years ago, my fiance was trying to start a streaming career, just as anybody does. And obviously when you're small, you meet other creators in the small thing, and you get into this coalition of everybody's helping each other grow. Within that group, there was a separate group who, for the best part of 2 years, spent every minute, every one of my partner's lives, every video, either mocking the death of mine and her child, or impersonating mine and her deceased child. I've got proof of all that going back 2 years.
Please send it, yeah. I would love for you to send me those things to be verified in the email, and I'd love to speak to you again tomorrow at whatever time is convenient for you, so I can actually either figure out and let it go, or even help to heal. Okay? Yeah. I promise you that it's not going to be a bombardment of stuff, but if you would allow that, I would love to speak again and start right here where we left off. Good. All right, here we go. Sorry about that, my friend.
There was something yesterday. I think yesterday I got a bit too caught up trying to give an explanation for her actions, rather than, an explanation does not excuse the actions. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we started talking about a situation we started talking about 2 years ago, and all of that is prevalent, obviously, still. But that doesn't change that there was mistakes made from System Devious in how she handled that and other situations. What do you think there needs to be worked on, and what do you think going forward is the best way to proceed in getting, we're all just trying to become better people, you know what I mean? And a big part of that is listening to people wiser or with differing opinions to ourselves, So
awesome. That's exactly what I think needs to be done. So I personally was willing to let it go and not deal with it anymore. Because you just never know who you're dealing with, right? So sometimes I think I did what I did to get a reaction or to defend somebody, but more importantly was to get a proper, what I consider, reaction, which is somebody saying this is wrong, unacceptable, and to stop it. I thought it was done, but the truth is, if she System Devious is not done with it, or else she wouldn't have sent that. She wouldn't have continued to make her point. And what happens is she got defensive because I went in, as I do, really hard, and so you feel like you have to defend yourself. But what happens is, in the end, after all of the defenses slide down and go away, what happens is there an acknowledgement of wrongdoing? And then after that, the acknowledgement has to be preceded by an ending of the movement of this thing, the ending of this, momentum of this specific problem.
That's what it was. That's what this whole conversation was about. It wasn't continuing it on. It was she and her system felt she hadn't had her side of the story represented. You know what I mean? And it's all closure. And I'll be honest, I think closure's a myth. We don't really get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think as long as she had her chance to say what she needed to say, that was, for right or wrong, the final sentence in the story to close it off.
Okay.
Dropped.
Right. So dropping it, number one. Number two is the reparation. Is there an apology, an acknowledgement, of saying, and this is just me speaking after hearing everything yesterday and trying to be as magnanimous and equal as possible. I think there needs to be a time where System Devious says, either through me, through this medium, or even to me, who I'm trying to get her to respond and say if she will even accept one. If she can't, there's nothing you can do about that. You let it go. If she will, I just think that the repaired situation would simply be, hey, I realize when I was loud, or when Spike, when Spike was loud, it messed with your fibromyalgia. I then overreacted and put a video that was intimidating and scary, and it wasn't necessary, and I apologize. At that point, I believe the repair has been made. That's what I think.
One thing, I do think your video, the fact that we're talking now is a direct result of your video, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's easy in situations where people aren't their best to think that's a representation of them entirely. And I think it's good for people, including your audience, to see people can feel bad for their actions. People can do better. We're all just working to be better.
Man.
I mean, I know in your video there was a couple things, personal statements made that System didn't take kindly to herself. Statements about family. And I don't know how, I don't care about how anybody runs their business. That's on everyone to decide. But I do know that I know my partner's family aren't the best, and that made it, probably maybe intended, that made it personal in a more upsetting way than educational. And I obviously, you did what you can go off, what you go off with the information you have at hand.
No, so let me address that, because that's very important. Okay, very important. The delicate balance was my ability, hopefully, to hold up the mirror. I simply wanted to know, or I simply thought in my experience, the actions that I saw were someone with a background of a family that was either not there or in detriment. And the best way to fix that wasn't the lashing out. Now that I heard she stated that she talked about what her family life was like in a YouTube video, and it's not that it excuses the lashing out, but it is exactly what I thought it was. On the
I
other
just know
hand, wait a
that.
minute. On the other hand, it does not excuse the flippant characterization of that. I apologize wholeheartedly for bringing up those things that were hurtful in my assessment, in my reading of the assessment. I believe I called it, but I believe that the necessity to call it in the way I did. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was necessary or not, but either way, my intent was to hold up the mirror and say that who you are is being transparent here instead of healing. Like this won't help that situation that you're going through. This won't help the family situation that you may have. When I said, "Where's your father? Where's your mother?" What I'm saying is, this isn't going to help that. That needs to be fixed outside of TikTok before you bring that in to someone else's pain, right? I also said something else. Has a lot of these issues, and if most of them are secret, and I'll never say them. What she does to get over those is help people. And I said in the video, what you're doing to get over it is hurt people. I wanted to reach a truth in her that she wasn't willing to maybe admit or say in the way that was appropriate. So I apologize for the flippant usage of it. I don't apologize for trying to reach the understanding that this is, in my assessment, one of the reasons why the lash out was so quick, without any discernment or without any time to gather information or ask a question at all. It was so fast because the anger that's inside you isn't directed towards her. And I was hoping to make that visible, hold up that mirror.
It sounds like cliche to say my parents messed me up, but in her case, and hell, in my case too, that's definitely true. There's a lot of flaws in my character that's directly as a result of my parents. And I think there's a way you conduct yourself online, and there's also a way you conduct yourself in private. And the way you conduct yourself online doesn't necessarily affect how you are in private, but in private it affects how you are online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think a fundamental
100%. Well said.
I think a fundamental solution is to work offline, because we all know how the internet works. It's a great thing, of course. You're in what, North America? I'm in Wales, in the UK, and we're able to talk as if we're in the same room. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I think there's a point where it stops becoming a tool to connect us, and makes it too easy for us to be the worst of ourselves.
Yep.
And I think there's things where, as a family, of course, I'm her partner as well as her carer. I think as a family, there's things we need to work on as a family, outside, of course, to ourselves in our lives, to get to the root cause of why we are a certain way, whether it's online or in private or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think there's a lot of these characteristics, the worst parts of us, might be exacerbated by online presence, social media, but it roots a lot closer to home, and you can cut the branches off a tree, but that tree is going to keep growing as long as the roots are still embedded.
Yeah.
So I think there's solving this on media, and then I think for the best thing is to take a step back, to reassess where we are in our lives, and then maybe once System Devious feels comfortable, maybe give it another shot online. But I think there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that need to be worked on. Obviously, you're recording tonight. Could you ask that you send this video to me so that I could look back on it together with my partner, and so I can show her, like, look, he's not criticizing for the sake of criticizing. He wasn't being personal for the sake of being personal.
Sure, of course.
I was gonna say, because I think this is what it's about. You know, there needs to be the conversation. You know, the minute we're all too afraid to talk to each other, we cease as a species. We're built on contradicting and divvying opinions.
That's it. We're the social animal. It's the reason why.
But I'd rather hear an opinion I don't like coming from a place of love than an opinion I like coming from a place of hatred.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that I have this video and have, of course, your comments to look back on and show her, like, you know, look, he wasn't being nasty for the sake of being nasty. Nobody's criticizing for the sake of criticizing. This is concern for you and concern for Pale Queen Kitty, and just wanting everyone to obviously not get along. That's not the way it is, but at the same time, just not be so reactive, so volatile to each other, so afraid to reach out and apologize and to talk. And so I think it's important that I can watch this video in private with her, you know?
I do too. I'll send it to you immediately after after we get off today. And I have nothing but respect for the whole endeavor. I appreciate it.
Because I thank you for even giving up your time. I mean, what did you do? What did you give up half an hour before, you know, knowing you had a later appointment yesterday? A month later, you'd have been well within your rights to whatever. I don't want to hear this a month down the line. You know what I mean? I think it's important conversations, you know, not just as individuals, as the society at large. You know what I mean? We're all stuck with each other, whether we like it or not. You can't. I mean, I know he has the safe spaces and for people to talk and all that, and I get the concept, but I don't really think personally they exist. I think any opinion has the right to be challenged and discussed and elaborated upon.
Yeah.
You know, I get that there's certain tools for the right job. You know, if there's a shard of glass that needs repairing, you use sealant. You don't take a hammer to it. I think different tools for different jobs, but I think a big part of it is just not being afraid to talk to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know we started based on the video, but I do think there's a lot to be said about your opinions and your knowledge of the world. You know, you said you've gone through the therapy, you've done the work yourself we're all bettering ourselves. You can't be afraid to hear from somebody who's been there, done that.
Yeah, and I'm still doing that. I have mentors to this day that talk to me just like I talk to the people.
But I think a big start of that is knowing not everybody's out to get you, not everyone's saying something to be nasty. And I think we all benefit from that reminder and that reality check every now and again. You know what I mean?
Yep. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you giving up your time, man. I do.
And there you have it, YouTube. You are not your worst moment. Unless you're too boneheaded to realize that was your worst moment. If you can't see it, if you can't acknowledge it, if you don't want to acknowledge it, that will be who you are. But there's a hero here. Believe it or not, you can disagree, you can leave it in the comment section, but there's a hero here, and it's System Devious. Okay, you don't agree, you know, I hear you. I might be wrong. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. I literally spent years trying to rethink, to train my mind to see failure as something other than it is. To see it as a chance to change. And it sounds so cliche and easy, but it's not, and I know that. It takes the work. Are you willing to do the work? System Devious is willing to do the work. That's why she's a hero. I'm willing to do the work. That's why I work here. Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to look at yourself? See when you're wrong. Admit it. Get better. We laugh at Karen's tee hee ha ha. I love it. But this is unlike any other channel on YouTube. Because no other channel on YouTube has you. Period. Tell me where I'm lying. Tell me where you've ever seen this on a Karen channel. Come on. Peace, y'all.